Oh, thank you, Matt. It's packed full of speakers from our partners, from industry and from businesses. So a really good opportunity to hear a lot around what's going on in Hertfordshire, what's going on in film and TV industry, and also around the Create Growth programme in Hertfordshire. So my name's Leigh Armstrong. I'm head of service at Hertfordshire Growth Hub, and really just a few slides to share with you. Be pleased to know there's not going to be too many slides today, but just in terms of letting you know a little bit around what we're going to cover today. So shortly we'll be handing over to Adam Morley and Pippa Cawdron to help set the scene around Hertfordshire's film and TV scene. And all the opportunities that lie within that. We will then be chatting with Chris Harper from Estu, who has some very special guests that will be joining us to help us understand the supply chain and where businesses can fit into that. We've also got some businesses that have been through our Create Growth programme who are on the call today, and our Access to Finance advisor, George, will be introducing some of those business owners. And then we'll say a little bit more about the Create Growth programme, and there will be opportunity for questions and answers, and we'll run through some of the next steps from what you've heard this morning. As I said, as people were joining, we have got chat available, so do pop any questions in the chat. If anybody does want to be unmuted so they can ask their questions at the end, we can do that as well. There is a poll that's just gone on the screen, so do let us know just so we get a flavour of what type of sector you're in or why you've joined the session today, just useful to get a little bit of background, but feel free also to pop any information that you're happy to share in the chat as well. Thank you. So in terms of the Create Growth programme, you're going to hear a lot today from various partners, but it's really to help you understand what's going on in Hertfordshire and whether the opportunities might be of interest to you as a business. So hopefully from what you hear this morning, you'll understand whether you're already in the film and TV supply chain and you want to do more business within that, or whether it's a sector that you haven't tapped into that you think it might be interesting. I've put a little bit of a snapshot of some of the sectors that can go in and be part of that, but that's by no means an exhaustive list. And we'll hear more today from some businesses that have started to supply to film and TV and have been through the Create Growth programme. It's a programme from the Department of Sport, Media and Culture with Innovate UK, and it's really around helping businesses to grow and develop, diversify their product offering or service, and also to help them develop pathways to finance and investment. So it's a package of support. So when you hear from lots of partners today, please don't be alarmed that there's a lot of things to keep track of, because we're all working very closely together. It's delivered and led in Hertfordshire by Hertfordshire Futures, and the Growth Hub are working very closely with Estu and the University of Hertfordshire to really pull this package of support together. So whether you're speaking to Estu or the university or our colleagues in the film office or the Growth Hub, we'll all be able to tell you a little bit more about the programme, which is a package of support available to all businesses in Hertfordshire. So I shall stop sharing my screen and I will hand over to Adam Morley, who is the Creative Sector Lead at Hertfordshire Futures, who's just going to tell us a little bit more about the film and TV sector in Hertfordshire. Adam, hand over to you.
Thank you, Lisa, and good morning, everybody. It's very nice to be here. I'm just going to give you a brief macro and micro viewpoint of what's happening in the sector at the moment, because there are two sort of predominant narratives. One is everything's brilliant, and the other one is it's the worst it's ever been, and it's a disaster. And the reality is both are true at the same time. You've got a massive change happening since the pandemic, which has not just affected creative industries as a sector, but it's affected multiple sectors. Consumer habits are changing, budgets are changing, people are looking for new innovations and new ways forward. And what we've been doing in Hertfordshire over the last couple of years, given our predominant market share as a significant global hub for film and television production, is working with our colleagues at the major studios, so Warner Brothers, Sky, the BBC, Elstree Film Studios, to understand the changes. We've been having regular roundtables looking at the impact AI is having, looking at the supply chain, supporting the supply chain innovation program, the Create Growth program. But what we're doing is specifically saying, how do we help businesses in Hertfordshire? What do we do locally? Because one of the issues the sector has, and one of the reasons it's so boom and bust, is because it's always been isolated, it's always been siloed, and it's always been driven by nepotism. So we need to open up these pathways. And the best way for us to do that is by creating the right ecosystem for the sector to thrive regionally, nationally, and then globally. One of the things that we get from our studio partners is they need sustainability. They need a consistent set of what they call the training slopes, because you can't just wake up one morning and decide I'm going to supply to Batman 2 filming at Leavesden, or I'm going to be the main supplier to Harry Potter for the next 10 years. You need to have gone through a journey. You need to have understood how the sector works, the demands of it, because there are going to be times where it's a strange old sector. You may have someone and a colleague of ours who comes on to the Create Growth course occasionally talks about this. He's a top film producer, and he says, look, there are times when you're in a field and it's Sunday night and you need to call a supplier the next day. You need to call them that night to get £10,000 worth of roses delivered the next day. As a business, you need to then work out, is this what I want to do? Do I want to have that type of flex to develop these relationships and then have this new strand to my various revenue streams? So what we're doing is we're saying there's a government incentive at the moment. There is what's called the UK Independent Tax Credit, which is a tax credit worth about 39 to 40%. It's 52% headline rate, but once you do all the maths, it boils down to about 39, 40% for incentivizing UK independent production and investment in it. That's a gold standard of tax credits globally. It's absolutely wonderful. And what we said as a region, because we have such a density of film studios and film production, and people will go into that in a bit more detail, how you can connect in with all of this. We said as a region, we need to do something about this, because when the strikes happened, the actors and writers strikes, we lost almost £500 million in income, which was not easy to take. And we saw that how reliant we were on one source of money. We said, this can't happen again. So we got together with all the studios and we said, right, what are we going to do? And we came up with what's called the propeller stages. And the propeller stages are very simple. It's a transactional relationship we've got with the film production companies and the studios. We are building a number of facilities, which will be small and agile. They are based at the University of Hertfordshire. They'll be based at Sky Studios. They'll be near Warner Brothers. They'll be all across Hertfordshire. The first one is opening this September at the University of Hertfordshire. And the idea is very, very simple. The companies that are making the films that are already in receipt of this 40% tax credit can come to us, and we will then give them discounted access to our top of the range facilities, post-production facilities, pre-production facilities, offices, unit bases, some support with the locations where we can at a reduced cost. In return for them receiving what we've calculated as 20 to 30% saving on their budget, they will then commit to using our supply chain and our talent pools. So basically people on this call. So people who've gone through the Create Growth program, who've understood the demands, are then going into our supply chain database, which will be the exclusive use of the propeller stages. So a company will have to use them. And the reason they have to use them is because with our 20% on top of the 40%, they're making a saving of 60% on their budget, which means they are much more likely to get the content working. It's a win-win for us. We look at it is that we are not-for-profit government organizations and education. So we don't need to make money from the rental of facilities. What we do is ensure that you're making money so that you can pay more tax, and you can employ more people, and we can get money into the exchequer. So the GVA goes up. And our numbers in Hertfordshire are already very good from film and television. We want that to improve, leveraging our market share. We want young people in the county, more experienced people in the county to have opportunities. It's a great sadness if you live in the shadow of Sky Studios, but you never think I could work there. We want you to be able to do that. And we want production to come to us. So that's the package we're putting together. It will all be under the banner of Screen Hertfordshire, where the details will be released on that fairly soon. But in the interim, if anybody's interested and wants to talk about it, understand a bit more, contact myself or Pippa, and Pippa will be able to leave some contact details, or you can get it from the Growth Hub. I also then present at the Create Growth program. And then we talk about how do you enter the supply chain. You hear from producers, you hear from location managers, and we talk about the advantages, the disadvantages, the difficulties. But for Hertfordshire and for Hertfordshire residents and businesses, we're actively working to ensure there is a consistent and sustainable pipeline of work that you can break into without having had a 30-year relationship with a specific location supervisor. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Pippa, who runs our film office and can give you some more direct advice. But yeah, we remain available to businesses who want to discuss opportunities and what this might mean for them. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Adam. So yes, for those that don't know me, and there are quite a few new businesses good to see in the chat. So look forward to connecting afterwards with many of you. I will put the details, as Adam said, in the chat. So under the banner, as I said, of Screen Hertfordshire that Adam was talking, the film office is one of the ways in which we kind of look to directly support both productions and also local businesses and residents. So we are funded by Hertfordshire Futures and by Herts County Council and also by the district councils. So again, we're not for profit. We're literally here for 3 reasons. One is to make things easier for productions. And we do this by having a locations database to help them find locations, which saves them time and money. We also have a crew and supplies database, which, as I said, following on from here, if you contact me, I can send you out links or I'll put them in the chat so you can get your details on there as soon as you can. And having this opportunity means that we make things easier for productions, and hopefully they're returning time and time again to film here because they know how we work, they know we're responsive. And, given the figures in the covering the last 2 years, we're able to kind of show that is evidence in that it's having an impact, which is great. The other way that we're helping is looking at supporting businesses. So like yourself, so we, along with Adam as well, I support the supply chain program. And, we look at how we can obviously support, businesses wanting to get into the industry and try and make introductions. Or try and at least get them in the right place at the right time so that those opportunities may arise, as well as giving individual business support on how to kind of promote themselves into the industry as best as they can. And then the other way is through the local residents as well. So we support residents through individual kind of boot camps, which is a conversation for another time, but I know Offspring Media on the course as well, but we look at how we can obviously get local people used. So we are basically funded to supply local opportunities for local businesses and local people. So in the landscape across the UK at the moment, so filming throughout England, we actually know that only over 200 million is an estimated local economic spend. And what we mean by economic spend in film and TV is for every day that any production comes and films on location. So this doesn't include anything within the studios. This is just when they come and film on the streets or in Hatfield House. There is a certain economic impact that we estimate given on the size of the production. Within Hertfordshire itself, we've recorded from April to April last year, we've recorded an estimated 11.3 million plus. And what that means is it's kind of spent on location fees, on parking fees, but also on catering, on business support, on travel and transport, on hospitality and catering. And as Adam was talking about earlier, productions, it's really important to both productions and to studios to try and make this as sustainable as possible. And part of sustainability is local. However, it's changing an industry who, is predominantly, obviously knows uses the same supplier. So we are working with the Propeller project, obviously is going to be one way to kind of get that in, but we're working with, based on relationships and things that we have at the moment, to try and integrate where we can businesses like yourself that want to work within the industry. So really what we do here at the film office is basically, if you connect with us, and we'll make sure that we can get you onto our database, so again we know about you. If the Create Growth program, you go through there, you will be recognized then as having gone through a local training program, which again gives you a kind of preferred supplier access when we're giving out details. And we also, as I said, we're going to be in the future having events and things like that we're going to be able to hopefully get some of that introductions made for you. So I know we've run over 10 minutes, sorry, Lisa, 11:24 I've just counted. So hopefully that's given a bit of a feedback, but I'll pop my details in and anyone can reach out individually. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Pippa and Adam. Really, really interesting and useful to hear. And now I'd like to introduce Chris Harper from Estu. And Chris has some special guests that are joining. I'll hand over to you, Chris, to tell us a little bit more and give us that behind the scenes peek into the industry. Thank you.
Hi there. Thank you both. Yeah, no, I'm setting my stopwatch now so we don't overrun, but not just for our timing, but for our special guests, Tom Westgate and Sally Lynn, who are joining us from a Napolese piazza on their holiday, and a very rare break in between jobs. I'll introduce Estu a little later, but we'll crack on, I think, with introducing Sally and Tom as they're joining us. And Sally is a production coordinator. She'll describe what that means and just how wide that remit takes her on independent films, large scale, massive movie projects as well. You might hear her clang the odd movie name like Barbie. Anyone heard of that? She was involved in that. So she does independent film and TV. You would recognize her work on Saltburn as well, perhaps. And she has a long-term collaboration with Mike Leigh's company, Thin Man Films. And she's also a producer in her own right, producing short films and music videos. So if that didn't appetize it enough, she's also joined by Tom Westgate, who's a second assistant director and a first assistant director. Both of those titles are a bit like junior doctors. It doesn't sound much, but actually it's incredibly powerful and senior. So we're really, really pleased to have him here. Again, his remit is huge and his experience enormous. You might have heard of things like Wonka and Star Wars, but he works in independent film, TV, and high-end movies as well. So I'm going to cut straight across to them.
1 second, I've just lost sound, everyone. Hold on.
Okay, so I'm going to use that pause there just to say, if anyone's got any questions for them throughout, stick them in the chat box and we'll interrupt the interview to have your questions. But what I will do is just quickly say that the part of the Create Growth program includes, we're very lucky, an exclusive deal that we have with the Royal College of Art. I'm very pleased to say there's a few graduates from our course here. There's a few people that are signed up to join our next cohort in September. The Royal College of Art teach essentially service design, which is the difference, if you like, between an Apple iPhone and a BlackBerry. It's about really adding understanding and delight to your product, your services, into your customer or your clients' lives. We can talk about that all day, but I know that you're all interested in the other side of the course, which is where we introduce you not only to service design and the Royal College of Art and how to grow your business, but then the film industry as well. So Sally, are we tacked up? Are we ready to go?
Yeah, we're all good.
Excellent.
I've unfortunately had to cut Tom out because I've just had to put my headphones in because I was having some sound problems. But
dear.
My business associate is here. But,
there he is. He's here. You can refer any questions across if you need to. But
yeah, will do.
I've just bigged him up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can feed in. I can be his translator. But no, apologies, everyone. You're hearing me from Naples, as Chris mentioned.
It seems rather suitable given the subject matter, actually. So thank you very much again for joining us. Now,
you're so welcome.
I mentioned just your job titles, and I know that there are some people on the call who work either within the music industry or within TV and film to a degree already, and will recognise it. But there's also lots of people who I suspect film and TV sort of doesn't go much beyond the star, the cameraman, and the coffee they're holding. Would you tell me what a production coordinator does?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, I just wanted to say up front that I'm hoping that this experience, this webinar now will be as beneficial to me as hopefully I am to you guys, with like sort of unveiling the candelabra, so to speak. But because effectively a production coordinator, I'd say, is like the input and output of information for the entire production. And a lot of what I do is I get information fed into me from the higher ups, and I have to then be the output to crew. I'd say Tom more specifically is the output to cast. He sort of looks after the cast mainly. But effectively, my role is incredibly varied, but it's all about making sure that cast and crew are informed about the, you know, how the shoot is going to go day by day. So I do a lot of distribution of paperwork and all that sort of stuff. But I guess it's difficult to summarize my job in the sense of it's not different. It's different day to day. It's, you know, no day is the same. And the sort of requests that come through to myself and Tom are usually incredibly varied. I guess a good place to start is like infrastructurally. We obviously have to like set everything up. So we have to book in all of our facilities, you know, depending on whether we're shooting in a studio or on location. Let's say, for example, I think it would be most useful to the people on this call to sort of focus on location-based work, because that is when services and suppliers become incredibly valuable and instrumental, because you're effectively taking a space, often a car park or somewhere really sad, somewhere with like zero infrastructure, and you have to somehow create a whole ecosystem that, you know, you're creating a world. You're creating a world. So we have to do everything from setting up internet, setting up you know, toilet and bathroom facilities, setting up office facilities, setting up green room spaces for actors and cast and directors and producers to be comfortable in as much as we can. So I guess you're creating a world, you're creating a space, and that is just separate to the set itself. You know, you've got to create a world in which we can work. Otherwise, we can't then create a world on camera. You know, it's just not possible. So often we need to be adjacent to our location, and like that could be anything from like a warehouse to a domestic space to you know, or somewhere huge like an airport or a train station. And then with that comes a lot of, as you can imagine, logistical requirements and infrastructural requirements. But then like going into the nitty gritty of the days, you know, so I'm sort of covering as many bases as possible as quick as I can. You then have the shinier things, which I know that you and I discussed not so long ago. Day to day, you then have to meet the demands of cast and crew, which could be anything, you know, could be anything from medical needs. So that maybe someone's got a bad back, you have to bring chiropractors in or find chiropractors nearby, or a doctor. It's always good to have an on-call medical doctor. And we use a lot of service companies such as like Dr. Call and other like sort of emergency response or like call out doctor services. But then you also get the slightly more, how to put this diplomatically, the more niche needs of usually actors or above the line crew.
One of my riders is always a vitamin B12 injection.
I have a really funny story about an actress I will not name, but we were moving locations 4 times that day, which is quite unusual, but we had quite a tight schedule, and we were running around London, 4 different places, moving the actor and a skeleton crew around different parts. Said actor on that day wanted a vitamin B12 injection, and I had to chase her around London with a doctor, be like, and ring, and every single time I got the doctor to where they needed to be, they had moved on, and the doctor would be like, "I'm here. Where are you?" I was like, "Oh, we're now on Chelsea Bridge. Go."
So is that sort of speed, I think, is something that I mean, Adam in his intro talked about the locations manager who's given a task to deliver by the next morning. But there's, as you talk about, there's also sort of infrastructural side of it too. And you were talking to me earlier about even just talking to your dad, who I believe is a carpenter, around that sort of the real sort of nitty-gritty and logistics about supporting that whole city.
Yeah, it's crazy. So my dad works in construction, and we often talk about the similarities between construction and the film industries. And he's always saying, I think he says it in like an aspirational way, but he's right. You know, building a house is much the same as making a film, because you know you have to build that world, and it's very the majority. It's quite interesting because people have this idea about a film crew and what it is, and you know, it being this glamorous thing, but it just like it's the least glamorous job in the world. It really is.
Yeah.
And most of fantastic, don't get me wrong, but it is not this glamorous thing that people think it is. And you know, the majority of our most influential crew members are, you know, just like work people, electricians, builders, model makers, carpenters, you know, so like riggers. It's effectively a big construction site.
Yeah.
A construction site with, you know, a lot of normal everyday working people in shorts and a tool belt, you know, just like flopping about. So it's interesting to know, and I think this, like what you guys are doing here is a really good and worthwhile thing, because it's every single day. It never ceases to amaze me the requirements that we need, and you know, it's so useful to have a database of people that you can just go to and like hope to God that they can help you at like last minute.
Lightning speed. Yeah.
That's the thing. It's about, I mean, it's interesting what Adam was saying about, you know, businesses, you know, whether they would be interested in being as flexible as being called up on a Sunday night, because we need that is a complete reality. You know, I was talking to Tom before he did his last film. It was a Netflix film, and they shot up in the Highlands for a couple of weeks. There was zero infrastructure, zero signal. And I was mentioning before about the Hertfordshire-based data company. They're in Brooklands Park, Datasat. People like that are so important, because without remote internet capabilities, we can't do what we do.
Yeah.
And Tom was saying how that, you know, they set up satellite dishes like at all like four corners of the Highlands, and like hope to God that we were able to get some sort of communication network set up. So but it is about working around the clock. I mean, that is something that we are trying to change in the film industry. We are trying to be a bit stricter. You know, Tom and I are always contactable by anyone who needs us, so that, you know,
even on holiday in Italy.
Yeah, well, yeah, but this is fine. This is nice. But we're always everyone always has a hotline to us. In fact, I can tell you a hilarious one. A colleague of mine got contacted at 9 p.m. on a Sunday night by a crew member who had been accommodated, who didn't have a wooden spoon in their kitchen, and they asked my colleague, like, I need a wooden spoon in my kitchen to stir my bolognese. And we're like, oh, well, it's 9 o'clock on a Sunday. Wow. Oh God! And then it's you know, really, like, we're always open. And I do think I wouldn't encourage it, but it is still a necessity for businesses to always be, because that is something that's difficult, because we don't shoot in traditional 9-to-5 fashions. We sometimes do, but often we work a lot of nights, we work a lot of weekends, we work bank holidays. So as much as I don't want to ask people to be available with their during their much needed downtime, it is something. That's
how it works. Well, a big shout out to the wooden spoon manufacturers who are on the call. But one of the things that we found out on the SCI course, the Supply Chain Innovation course, is that with the big day at the end, which is a presentation at Sky, which is like a very warm and friendly version of Dragon's Den. But for someone like you who works around the clock and is passionate about what they do, it's great, because in the world, the procurement teams actually get to see these passionate business leaders. So whether you're in accounting or marketing or printing, interior designs, or catering, they get the chance to actually see. I'll have the muscles. They get the chance to see these passionate, hardworking, local business leaders face to face, and it makes such a difference when you're suddenly confronted with where can I get a wooden spoon at 9 p.m. I mean, obviously that's the sublime to the ridiculous, but it
really is. It really is. And it was quite interesting because I was looking at some of the different companies and businesses that are on the call today. and just trying to and every single one is applicable to something I've had to do on a day-to-day basis, something that we will need. And it's everything from something as fundamental as having internet, as having, you know, wash and toilet facilities and shower facilities and office facilities and internet supply and phone suppliers and radio suppliers. All that stuff is like a basic, but then obviously it is a zhuzhy industry, and you have producers and you have actors every single day. Like, can you get me some flowers for this person? It's that person's birthday tomorrow. We need a really beautiful cake and we need it tomorrow, or we need it this afternoon, and we need these beautiful flowers and we need it delivering to this really remote space. We need to set up an actor in their new accommodation, and we need to make sure that there's someone there who can let them in and make sure they've had their Ocado delivery, they've had their, you know, all of their coffee put into that they have everything they need. You know, we need that this actor's got a baby, we need to find them a nanny, we need to procure and set up a cot, we need to set them up with this whole, you know, again, it's just creating an environment in which people can live their lives as normally as possible whilst equally living quite an abnormal existence. And it's just about being able to function. I think is the simplest way of putting it.
And you've got the middle ground there as well, because you talk about the zhuzhy and desperate and urgent needs, and also the sort of infrastructure, but also there is a lot of kind of event space and hospitality space that that between and before even the filming and the launch. And, you know, there's a lot of, I know there's a couple of people on the course, on the call, who've been on the course, who've sort of stepped into the event space that they run at studios or alongside. So there is really that sort of, it's almost like the automotive industry where there's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. There's a surrounding scape to every production.
Yeah, 100%. We always need big empty spaces to exist. And events companies is a perfect example, because they sort of have they have like an existing infrastructure in which to transfer into the film industry. We always need places for people to eat, big spaces that we can accommodate up to in excess of like 400 people, fold out tables, fold out chairs, you know, just anything that you can imagine, cutlery, crockery, just anything that you can imagine a film set will need at one time or another, always and without fail. And we need it quickly, and we need it in the most affordable fashion, and in a way that like doesn't disrupt what we're trying to do on a day-to-day basis. Like primarily everything that I do is to make sure everything else is ticking on around and protect the set so that they don't have to worry about anything. And I'm like a sort of hamster on a wheel trying to make sure that everything happens. But and you know that the shoot crew are like beautifully oblivious. They're like, oh, what a lovely day we've had today.
The smoother it's you're like a stunt man in that sense, is that the fewer people who notice you, the better your job has been, isn't it? We're going to wind up in just a moment.
Sure.
I wondered if anyone has got a burning question, because we've got a glimpse into a very glamorous and fun and high octane world here from Sally and Tom, who's just out of picture.
Tom, I've got my headphones in, everyone, but he is here. And if you do have any questions about running of the set or scheduling, then he's obviously around that.
I'm just going to drop in. Lisa's going to share a link. I have to say, this is a beautiful audio, it's a book that I absolutely love. It's Tom Hanks's rather sweet novel, but the making of another motion picture masterpiece. But it's in the opening chapters. It does a really good job of really setting the scene of how the different hierarchies and different spaces work within making of a movie. But it's that sort of description about needing office space, needing catering, needing really resourceful people to help support accommodation, or to support legal services, or HR, or you know, design, wooden spoons, B12 injections. It's all there. It's a fascinating world, and I will repeat, one of the joys for the Sky team is they get to see the people who want in face to face on these courses. And it really does matter. It's not just about, you know, what you know and who you know. Sometimes it's about the passion you give off and the knowledge you have, because Sally, I imagine you agree, you want to get somebody in who's not going to let you down. That's the big thing, isn't it? You've got a limited time and you want somebody to deliver perfectly.
100%. And actually what I will say, Chris, is like, if it's useful, I don't want to be detrimental to the database that the Growth Hub are trying to do, but I'm more than happy to send like a useful list of, you know, databases for people to look at, to not only have contacts for location managers and production teams such as myself, but also like other infrastructure like the NFTS and screen skills and
Oh.
K's, for example, which is our big Bible of
I mean, the
suppliers.
K's catalogue used to
Yeah.
be where anyway, I won't share that.
K's is wild, yeah.
Sally, I hope we'll be able to invite you back for a guest appearance, both you and Tom, on the course this autumn. We've got 2 more rounds of the Supply Chain Innovation course taught by Estu and the Royal College of Art, one starting at the end of September and another in January. We've got some alumni here I hope would testify that it's a useful course. Lisa, another time, maybe we'll get you to talk about the meeting that you're having tomorrow. But Sally, thank you so much for your input.
Any time, and if there's anything I can do, if anyone has any further questions, I'm always happy. I love to talk about catering and internet.
Yeah. Well, it's that detail that, I mean, as it's coming through, so thank you people in the chats, but just the range of needs is coming really clear, and it's so great to hear from the horse's mouth and the engine.
100%. Yeah.
So we'll sign over. Lisa, thank you. Thank you, Sally.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sally, and thank you, Chris. Really good to hear, and I think a lot of people will be really pleased to hear Sally's comments about the types of businesses, as you've described yourselves in the chat, that they are very much the types of businesses that could supply to film and TV. So hopefully this is whetting your appetite a little bit for the Create Growth programme. I now would like to hand over to my colleague, George Safandakis, who's our Access to Finance advisor on the Create Growth programme. I mentioned it's a package of support, and one of those elements for businesses once they've gone through the Supply Chain Innovation course with Estu is an optional element to work with George. I'll let George introduce himself, and he's also going to introduce a couple of clients that have been through the programme and been through Supply Chain Innovation programme as well. I'll hand over to you, George. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Good morning, everybody. So as Lisa said, my name is George Safandakis, and I serve as the Access to Finance advisor at the Hertfordshire Growth Hub. And my role is to work with businesses that want to raise debt finance, equity investment, or apply for grant funding to get them investment ready. So what this means is understanding their funding requirement, assessing readiness, and where appropriate, referring them to the various sources of finance. Readiness is assessed by looking at the business's financial status, risks, opportunities, management, people behind the business, which I would say is actually the number one aspect that that financiers look at when putting money into a project. Business plans, of course, and then providing feedback on all of these aspects as seen through the eyes of the supplier of funds. So it's very much being that critical friend in the process. So this morning we are proud to have and very grateful to have 2 businesses that are on the Create Growth program. Both have completed the initial business growth assessments and the film and TV supply chain innovation program, as mentioned by Chris, which I always attend, so I will be a familiar face with the likes of Maddie and Chris and various others there. So they've both done all of that, and they're here to share their experiences of the program, what their businesses and themselves gained personally, and how they envisage moving forward. So Elisa Courts, if I could start with you, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, and taking us through your Create Growth journey.
Yeah, good morning. My name's Lisa. I'm from SPS, Specialist Protection Services. We're a security-based company. We got involved with Hertfordshire Growth Hub last year, and subsequently through George, through Lisa, through Chris, Pippa. We then went on to I went on to complete the TV and film innovation course with Estu, and subsequently now on my 3rd course with them. Without all of the Hertfordshire Growth Hub and everybody else involved, so the film office, and that, our business is now actually starting to grow. It's opened doors that I've struggled to get into over the last couple of years. So it's given our business a really boost up. The financial help from what George has put forward to us, not only personally through a innovation that I've came out of, the film and TV innovation course, we've been able to access further funding, and moving forward, like I say, it's been and continues to be a really useful tool. So for any business looking to come in or are scared of coming in, to sort of having the growth hub and everybody else involved with the growth hub, it's really worth it. Without it, we wouldn't be moving forward at the speed that we're moving forward right now. And certainly in the last 3 weeks, I'm getting a lot of interest, and doors have opened that have been closed for so long to us. So, you know, it's exciting times and well worth it.
Thank you, Lisa. While you were speaking, I was just reminded of that very cold winter morning when we were on at Sky Studios, and you and I were walking between the studio tour and kind of the main reception, and you had a bit of a twinkle in your eye because you had an idea that was starting to formulate. Do you want to just take us through how you got to, what was the thought process that brought you to that point where you had that aha moment of inspiration?
It was actually in the classroom, with, you know, all of you guys in there and Wendy, and Maddie and everybody. It was a brainstorming that I'd never been involved in, which then showed us through obviously the service journey and how to do things like crazy eights and that. So if it's on TV and supply chain. From that, this idea had been in my head for a long time, but I was able to actually put it on paper and test it with people. And right now, what I thought was a mad idea and never thought possible, with the help of University of Hertfordshire, their department, and some initial grant funding, I'm now having discussions with Meta and Moon Hub to actually develop this idea. So as I continue on my service design journey with Estu, my level 6 course, it's actually helping me put together a proposition and in the right terminologies, and play with you guys get me into Innovate UK, putting forward grant proposals, something I've never done before and always felt frightened of little old me would never be able to do this. So with everybody's help, like I say, from Pippa, yourself, Wendy, Lisa, Maddie, there's so many people that, too many to mention. A crazy idea on a crazy day is now growing, and it's growing wings, and it's certainly growing legs. So
Lisa, would you say, no, that's fantastic. You've put it so eloquently and inspirationally. Would you say that understanding the inner workings of the creative sector and the film and TV sector, your understanding of how that clock ticks has improved as well?
Massively, without going, it's something I'd never sort of knew. I run a security company. I deal with security officers and everything else. So that side of the things, and learning about innovation, ideation, service journeys, customer journeys, stakeholder maps, and everything else, it never crossed my mind before. So what the course did was, apart from put a really big fire in my belly and realize that, you know, this is really fun and it's nothing scary. It's given me a lot more knowledge, a lot more confidence. It's built my confidence up. And that's showing in through my managing director sort of saying that I go into a meeting now feeling confident, being able to talk about things in a much more stronger manner. It's hard to describe unless you're sitting in that classroom. You'll suddenly get this little spark, and maybe what you might have not realized was possible suddenly can become possible. And it gives a really good basis to help move your business to the next step.
I remember, thanks Lisa for that. I also just remember you giving me insights into the security industry and how techniques that you use to defuse the situations in bouncing and nightclubs and all that. Neil, if I could come to you, you had a very similar experience in terms of understanding the knowledge, getting to understand the knowledge of the industry, but you had a very specific requirement in terms of capital investment. Could you tell us about how that transpired?
Yeah, just a little bit about us. So we moved over to Hertfordshire about a year ago, and where we were, pretty much we didn't have help in the film and TV sector. So as soon as we moved over to Hertfordshire, we contacted the Hertfordshire Growth Hub. They introduced us into this course, and like Adam said earlier, pretty much during COVID, we kind of lost all of our work in the film and TV sector. And what we didn't realize is the film and TV sector kind of changed overnight. So being in this course, we learned a lot, where it's moving, how it's moving, and subsequently we kind of knew we needed to get a new machine, to basically help us.
Who you've baptized the name?
Yes,
Yeah.
Violet.
Violet, yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't see her. She is in that corner there. But yes, we decided to buy Violet, basically a UV printer. And like Adam and Sally said, you kind of need to move overnight. So we realized we needed to get this bit of equipment in. Wasn't cheap. Wasn't really getting the funding for it. So after the course, we knew we needed to get it. It basically just went, if we're going to move forward in this sector, we kind of need to get this machine to move forward with the industry, because like they say, you need it basically yesterday. We say yesterday in the industry. A lot of people say now and here and now. We say yesterday. And George basically pointed us in the right direction after the course. We were able to get the funding for it. And it's definitely helped. So some of the productions that we have now worked on basically needed stuff yesterday. Like I said, some of it needed to be in Latvia. We could produce the stuff on the machine there and then, and basically get it sent to Heathrow and get it sent to Latvia for the next day, so they can start filming.
That's incredible. So your turnaround time allowed you to respond very quickly to the demands of the sector. Neil and Lisa, thank you very much for that. Lisa Armstrong, are we going to take any questions for Lisa Courts and Neil from the audience?
Thanks, George. Thank you to Neil and Lisa. I think what we'll do, we'll leave some questions to the end, and that can be for anyone. So actually, if anybody does have any questions, please do start to pop them in the chat. Thank you very much, George. I'd also just like to take the opportunity. So you've heard a little bit about some of the elements of the programme. I'd also just like to take the opportunity to introduce Eleanor Sharples from the University of Hertfordshire. So you probably heard Lisa Courts mention that she'd worked with the university. And another part of the programme that's optional to people that go through the supply chain innovation programme is also to pick up with the University of Hertfordshire, maybe in exploring new product or service development. Eleanor, if I could just ask you to tell us a little bit more about that, please.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Elena. I work in research and enterprise services at the University of Hertfordshire. With the Create Growth programme, the university offers participants product development support in a range of areas, working with our academics and our schools, and also our business network, with the aim of bringing a new product or service to market. So, for example, last year we worked with Lisa to develop some virtual reality scenes, and then we also worked with different businesses to develop animations and product demonstration videos, as well as doing some marketing and branding support. And we developed a website for one company. We can offer bespoke business support based on the discussions with the business once they're referred to us by the Growth Hub. And we work closely with the business and then with our academic schools to work out the best way that we can support you.
Leigh, thanks very much, Eleanor. So hopefully that's given everyone a little bit of a flavour of the support that's available. I just wondered if there was any questions from anyone, any of the panelists or any of the businesses that you've heard from. Feel free to pop it in the chat, or if you do want to be unmuted, we can do that. I saw there was a question, or maybe not a question, but just a comment from, was it Alec? Let me just see if I can find it. I think it was just around difficulty in breaking into the industry and supplying to the industry. Does anyone have a question that they do want to be unmuted? If not, we have got another poll, so while you're thinking of questions, we can drop in another poll for you as well. Matt, I don't know if you've got the poll. Lovely, thank you.
Hi, Lisa. There is a question. It's from Tina, and it's a question from the Lumini. It says, "How would you integrate the program into your existing schedules, and any tips on managing clients' work alongside course commitments?"
Thank you, Matt. Actually, Chris, are you able just to run through and just highlight the time commitment of the course, and then perhaps we can put that to Neil and Lisa and how they manage that?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I always say actually is how amazed the Royal College of Art are. I think they tend to have, because they teach globally, they teach C-suite sort of, massive, powerful bodies of global brands, or people or perhaps who are doing it as a MSc or MBA, they're used to students who are full on Royal College of Art as students. And what they love from our course is the energy, because the people on it are also running busy companies, organizations, wings of the NHS, whatever it is they're doing it alongside the course. So what I suppose our whole thing at Estu is that we try to take something we really care about, get the best people in the world to teach it, and then we funding align it. So your biggest commitment to us is your time, rather than the money. And we take that incredibly seriously, and we make as much of the course as really as practical as possible. And hopefully you've heard Neil and Lisa's stories about their time on the course and subsequent courses that they're doing with us. But it's about giving you that time and space and input to actually just step slightly back from the delivery and to think about where your business is going. And so it's actually business development time. And that's why a lot of the time, if you wanted to do any of these courses, you can do it as a team, because you can actually get down to the nitty-gritty of what you're doing, spend time doing actual work. There's no kind of academic sort of big thesis idea that you're building in the background. Am I able to share a screen? Because if you like, I could share a sort of typical day in the life of on the course. Lisa, have I got?
I think Matt can make you.
Yeah, let's have a little look, because I'll show you the timetable.
Chris.
Thanks, Chris. And I think someone's also just asked around the cost, and obviously going on the program, there's a package of support available for the supply chain innovation course. Although it is heavily subsidised, there is a £500 cost.
Yeah, so it's £500 rather than, well, that's sort of, I think it equates to about 92%, doesn't it? It's fantastic. I mean, we work across lots of other regions, and you really are incredibly well supported, not just by a brilliant team, but a lot of sort of funding and support across Hertfordshire. It's a fantastic place, I think, to run a business. I'm having problems sharing from here, but the course is delivered across 8 weeks. It's a session, more or less one per week. We do 3-hour morning slots, which are online. You join in, and they're very participatory. I think we've all done enough rubbish online training, certainly since COVID. We draw your eyeballs onto your eyelids and, do your emails in the background. That doesn't happen on these courses. But we also have 3 in-person days, and these are rocket fuel. They bring the sort of 4th element of our courses together, and that's the networking opportunity, where you are surrounded by like types, other exciting businesses and business minds, or people from organizations with ambition, and you're surrounded by these people and you're working together. So these are in person, and we host them. We're very lucky. We host them both at BBC Elstree Studios, sorry, and Sky Elstree as well. So you get to really come down to the studios and get a tour and get to sort of know exactly how those studios are set up and meet the people with their fingers on the purse strings and the budgets and everything. So it's a fantastic way to sort of really see firsthand how things happen.
Thanks, Chris. That's brilliant. Thank you. And I don't know, did Lisa or Neil want to say anything about the time commitment and how they managed it?
I certainly can, with the time commitment, because it is one sort of day a week. You're able to build your business around it. Obviously, if you can't attend on one of the days, that's fine. We get sort of everything gets sent across from Estu, so the slides, and you can catch up. You're also helped because you've got WhatsApp groups, so with the groups that you're in to catch up. The one thing I will say is that the best thing about it is you're also building your business at the same time because of all the connections. So it doesn't feel like you're taking a day out of the business because you're building on more and more connections. You're also able to not only network, but come up and bounce off ideas and build upon crazy things. And that me and Neil have built on more and more crazy things as we're going on. So I don't know if Neil's got anything to say about that, who I've now done 3 courses with.
Yeah, I'll probably say the same. I'm with Lisa on basically 3rd course with S2 as well. With us, we basically, there's only 3 of us in the company, so it can be difficult. I'll be honest, it can be difficult to if you're a small company or you're on your own. But to be honest, the benefits that come out of it for literally, as you can see there from Chris, 10 basically days, it is worth it, because what we got out of it, we're now really looking at our business and actually changing the way we work. And there's a lot more things we're looking at in-house. So if you think you're going to struggle, I would say still look at the benefits, because the benefits still outweigh what one phone call basically from us. So I'd say look at everything. And to be honest, a lot of this, the times as well, they're so short. It's not like you're going to be out for a whole day. You can kind of plan it in the way you work. And like us, we work over the weekends as well. So we kind of did a lot of work over the weekends while planning this in during the week. And some of the courses we're on now, which are more intense, it basically still outweighs the benefits of the course still outweighs what we potentially would have done if we just didn't do it in the first place.
That's so good to hear. It's lovely to hear that, Neil. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Thanks, Chris and Neil and Lisa. I know we're running kind of short on time. There are a few other questions in the chat. And I know one of those was around, are there any grants? Are there any funding? I think it was a question from Eric. We'd be really happy to pick that up with you here at the Growth Hub. Whether or not the program's right for you, we can still pick up and support you in other areas of your business. And if the program is something you want to look at, of course, there is that access to finance support specifically there as well. So Eric, we can reach out to you. I don't know if there was another one that we maybe have time for. I know my colleagues have put some links into the chat around how to express your interest in the program. Don't worry if you're not sure, you're a bit undecided. You can express your interest, we can have a chat, and we can just take you through more of elements of the program, introduce you through to Chris, who can chat to you more about it as well. But it doesn't commit you to anything just by completing the expression of interest, so please feel free to do that as well. Was there another question? I think Matt, you'd spotted another one. If we had time for it, we may not.
Yep, there was a question here. 1 second. It was from Charlotte. She said, I work in design and a marketing agency. How would the course like this be to us?
which I'd love to jump in on this one as one of the
Thanks, Maddie.
one of the delivery team on the courses over at Estu. Absolutely. We've had so many people from different industries, and as we heard from Sally and Tom, there's so much diversity in terms of what's needed on site. So what we're aiming to do is open your eyes to the potential of the industry and give you access to those opportunities and the right people. And it's such a great opportunity. So absolutely get in contact. And I know other people have been putting messages in the chat as well saying, would I be a good fit for the course? Absolutely. The
Yeah.
whole point is this is so inclusive, and we are trying to provide to this massive market opportunity. They're asking for you.
And we've had over, I think it's well in advance of £1 million worth of contracts that come directly now across the cohorts. So the proof's in that pudding. But there's, again, the Royal College of Art would be telling you it's all about transferable skills across other areas of your business, as you've heard Neil and Lisa talk about. One of the tutors ascribed service design to the success of his 30-year marriage as well. So, you know, there's win-win-win.
So yes, we look forward to hopefully seeing you there, Charlotte, and some other familiar names in the chat.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Maddie and Chris. So I'm conscious of time. We don't want to keep anyone longer than we need to. So apologies if we haven't got to everyone's question, but we will be following up with you. Please do use the links in the chat to express an interest in the programme to make sure that we can pick up and have a conversation around it. Thank you so much to our panellists and to Sally and Tom from joining on their holiday as well, and to all the panellists and businesses that joined. And thank you very much for your time. It's been lovely to chat with you all. Thank you.